Now I've got to show you something called the filter gallery, which I think you're really going to like. So as you can see here, by the way, I reverted my barn back. I just chose File and then Revert, of course. This time I'm going to head back to the Filter menu, and now I'm going to choose Filter Gallery. Go ahead and choose the same option there. We get this massive full-screen dialog box showing up. How this guy works, by the way, is we get a preview of our image over on the left-hand side. The center column lists out all of the available filters. So as you can see, I've twisted open Artistic, and we have all kinds of different artistic filters available to us here. And then way over on the right-hand side, we have the particular filter settings, right? So maybe, for example, what I want to do is I want to make this guy look like he's been hand-painted, some kind of a painterly effect, if you will. Underneath Artistic, I'm going to go and select Cutout, this guy right here. It's pretty tough to see exactly what's going on. Believe it or not, this area here is actually a preview of my barn, but he's huge. You might want to zoom out just a little bit using the zoom controllers there down in the bottom corner, or you can use your keyboard shortcuts if you want, Controller Command minus. There we go, so it looks like he's kind of painted in there. And then what I could do is I can use the controls that I have over on the right-hand side. So number of levels. So I could increase or decrease the number of color levels that I have there. I actually kind of liked 3 there, something like that. Edge simplicity. Again, every filter that we work with here is going to have different settings, different options. There's no real golden rule here. You come in and you literally play and fiddle and see what you can come up with. Now, what's great about the filter gallery, and you saw this in the previous exercise, you saw how we could stack filters on top of one another. Well, we can do the same thing here inside the filter gallery. So maybe, for instance, now what I want to do is I want to make it look like this was painted on watercolor paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist open the sketch folder, the sketch category, and you can see there's all kinds of stuff in here. Chalk and charcoal, graphic pen, note paper, and so on. And all the way down towards the bottom we have water paper. Down in the bottom right corner of the entire dialog box, I'm going to add in a new effect layer. So notice it says cutout here. That's the first effect. I'm going to go and add in a new layer. It duplicates that cutout. And then underneath this sketch category, I'm going to set this guy to water paper. So now I have water paper on top of the cutout effect. So again, we're stacking these effects one on top of another. You can stack even more effects if you want, just adding in additional effects layers. So now, with water paper selected, I'd come into the controls here for water paper. And maybe I adjust the fiber length, and maybe I increase my brightness, something like this. Maybe I want to adjust the contrast somewhat. Again, it's just a matter of fiddling and experimenting and seeing what you can come up with. And of course, I'm kind of running through this quickly here, but you know, in the real world, you'd want to spend some time and experiment and compare some different settings with one another to see what you can really come up with. But you know what's really cool here is I could always change what's happening here. Maybe I decide, this watercolor paper, this water paper, I'm really not feeling it. I could turn his visibility off and go just back to cutout. So this is what my barn looks like with just the cutout effect, or the cutout and the water paper, both of these guys. Or I could go, you know what, this water paper, I'm really not feeling it at all. I want to try something completely different. So with this effect layer selected, I'm going to head up to this drop-down menu just above the controls there on the right-hand side, and I could go and choose a different guy. Maybe I'm going to go with perhaps Paint Daubs, right? I'll go and select this guy. Now I have this Paint Daubs effect layer. So I literally just changed from the water paper to the Paint Daubs, and now I can go and monkey around with these settings here, right? So as a matter of fact, all of the options that I have available from this drop-down menu are all of the same effects that we have available from this sort of this folder view in the center area of the dialog box. So if I want to simplify this dialog box, I could click on this arrow here. That collapses that center area. So now I have this full preview on the sort of in now the main area of this dialog box, and I could come along and add in a third effect layer and simply use the drop down menu to choose the effect that I want to apply. Maybe this time dry brush, right? And then again I can start monkeying around with the dry brush settings. So literally at any time I can switch back to any of the effect layers and get access to that effects layer's settings, sliders there on the right hand side, and continue adjusting and fiddling until I get exactly what it is that I'm after. And then once I'm happy, once I reach a point where I'm satisfied with the effect, I go ahead and click on OK, and that applies the 3 effects now to my image, as we see here. Now, the thing that I have to remind you of, though, is that we've been working in a destructive manner, haven't we? So again, I save my image and close it out, and I can no longer retrieve the original barn. So what I want to show you next is how you can work with your Photoshop filters in a non-destructive way.